Hey, here's a video on the 600. I mean, I guess we can call it a 600 still. I'm not sure what it could call it. 601. So let's see. I do have the hood back here. I still have the original hood. Actually, I have the original tractor completely, but I've basically made a Frankenstein out of that thing at this point. Actually, not too bad, but still have the hood, everything, but I need to do a little bit of repair, and I'm not going to right away, but this front area up here, you can see it's cracked pretty good. I was working it pretty hard for a couple months actually, and something I've been wanting to do for a long time, either fix that or it wasn't one or the other. I had two things that I wanted to do. I wanted to fix that, which I'm not going to do immediately. Another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to include some old wood in some of my tractors and just do a little bit of custom work. So this is what I did. What I did was I measured the hood. I did height, width, blah, blah, blah. I took dimensions of the old hood, and then I tried to kind of match it up to match my tractor. You can see here that's bolted on well. Right down here, it's bolted on. Got the bolts through the bottom. This isn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I didn't have an exact thought in mind either. What I wanted to do is I wanted to build a hood. I want to do a front bumper, which I might still do more of here. You can see that's solid white oak from Missouri. And then I what did I do? I did varnish it, yes. That's varnish on there. So it's a little bit brownish yellow, and it seems to match the tractor and the paint colors really well. This is specifically an antique white. When you go to buy like Rust-Oleum spray paints, that's an antique white on the green. I did the green about 10 years ago and I haven't touched that. You got the fenders back on the 600. Got the lights on it. I got a new light on the front here, down below, really bright. I mean, that's probably where the light's gonna stay at, but I'm still struggling for a good place. I will use that, but I don't do a whole lot of night stuff. So another thing, I tried to kind of create the fan shape, how the spars fan out from the middle. And then this is all solid oak, like I said. So I've got 4 solid big pieces of oak. One is here, that's where everything mounts. Another one here, and another one on top. And then this bolt goes all the way through down underneath here where it bolts, where there's a nut on the bottom. So this bolt goes all the way through. So this top piece all the way over here is separated from this bottom piece over here. Sorry, I had that zoomed in. This top piece is actually a separate piece from the bottom, and then it's bolted right here very nicely. Looks great, people like it. Can't say I'm finished with it, but what this did was it solved a bunch of problems for me, in that I needed to get the gas tank on this tractor somewhere, and I really couldn't think of any other place than where it's at right now, where it's out of the way. It is safe and secured. It actually is sitting down inside of that wood frame just a little bit. Then I've got a 24-inch nylon zip tie that's really heavy duty there. So yeah, that's where the 600's at. I'm using it, but not much right now. I've got a load of solid wood. I mean, these 2x12s, I've got about 15 2x12s in there and a whole bunch of ballisters. They're actually cedar, so they're a little bit lightweight, but it's got a pretty good load on it. Yeah, that's about it. I have the original wheels. I can't say original, but these AG tires are really old. I have newer ones and better ones, but these are kind of the odd size tires that I have, and I like them, but everything else I have in AG is I either have the skinny ones or I have the wider than this. This is what I call the medium width AG tires, and the tire is called a 23 by 8.5 by 12. So this is 8.5 inches, and I think my others are 9.5 or 10.5 wide. Still have the original front tires on it, and it's running great. So here's the big difference also on this, and I'm going to show how this opens up really nicely and it stays in place. It's pretty good. It's really solid. It's not bending and flexing. So right now I do have a full tank of gas, so I have to be careful what I do. But take a look at the engine here, and then my exhaust. So that's new. And if you look closely, so the engine, that exhaust port is called I think it's considered a 1-inch pipe thread, or 1-inch NPT is what they call it, and a national pipe thread. And that was stripped out. However, the two bolts that were holding the original muffler were there, and these two bolts, these two holes were still good and tapped out. So what I did was I took a 1-inch pipe fitting, pushed it in because that was stripped, pushed it in, then I drilled out just a little bit on the side of here. So these two bolts are holding that in. That thread isn't really working. Then I just threaded an elbow, put an exhaust pipe on it. That's working great. That's a compromise again, because I really wanted to get the muffler on here, but that old flat one was the only one that I had that matched it. And I suspected, and I could be right or wrong about this, I'm willing to be corrected on it, but I suspected that as old as that quote muffler was, it was more of a spark arrestor than it was a muffler. And this engine was pretty loud. You could hear it pop every time, and it was like, just sounded like super efficient, really popped well. But it was loud, louder than normal, and I wanted to get a good exhaust system on there. It might be in a parade in a couple weeks for the 4th of July celebration. So I want to get a muffler on there for sure. But one thing I will say is, going back to what I was just saying, the spark arrestor, or the muffler, whatever it used to be, it had become a spark arrestor. It wasn't a muffler anymore, even if it was one back in the day. It was just arresting the spark. So I have noticed that there has been a little bit of a drop in power output. So that back pressure has taken just a tiny amount of power out of the engine. Where the spark arrestor, that thing was just like raw power and no resistance on the exhaust. That little bit of back pressure has slowed the engine down just slightly, and if I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't notice it, but definitely has changed it. I like the see-through thing so people can see the old antique part. I don't have any junk to hide underneath there. It's all pretty clean. I need to clean up these wires for the lights, but I like the see-through thing so people can actually see what's going on the inside. And check it out. That's the battery there. Everything is working great. So let's take a quick spin on it. Excuse me. This won't be a huge test, but I would take a little spin, and this driveway is always pretty much, it's, I wouldn't say really steep, but it's always makes the tractor work to go up it. So where I'm at still, I've got the switch here, that's the on-off switch. This newer carburetor that I put on a couple months ago, I just choked that right quick, and I hit that once, then I unchoke it, and it should start right up. Yep. So you can hear it's significantly quieter than it was before. In fact, I call that really quiet compared to before. So let's take a quick spin. Third gear. Carburetor has been great. The new oil seal has been great. So I took the wheel weights off. Let's see if it can make it up there without the wheel weights. It's a little bit above idle. It's working really well. That's the only rattle I have. Back on it. I just keep my foot on the clutch pedal to keep it from rattling. It rattles from the belt running across it. And I'll get off the tractor and show that. You can hear when this engine senses a heavier load, it responds, and that's something I could never get with my old Briggs & Stratton engine and those Zenith carburetors. Excuse me, a little stick here. So that's why I have this engine in here, is because of the hills. And this thing responds perfectly. So I'm going to go up and show that pedal is rattling a little bit right there, and that's just because it's directly connected to the belt pulley on the tensioner. That's the clutch basically, and this support here on the foot pedal is just like a bronze bearing or something that's just kind of wallowed out over the years from being used. So I'll show that right quickly. Right down here, go upside down. That bracket is what's causing it to rattle just a little bit. I just keep my foot on it, it's no problem. So that's about it. I just want to give an update. That's the current state of the 600. It's running great. I have more wood than if I really wanted to do anything to it, but I'm really happy with how this is working here. It's nice and solid, doesn't vibrate, doesn't shake, doesn't move. It holds the support on the gas tank, which has been a problem since I put this engine in. Got some little brass gears that will eventually get some tarnish to a different color, hopefully. I'll start getting a little bit of rust. These are black screws, and they'll eventually get a little patina or rust or corrosion or whatever happens to them. Got some brass screws on there. I might end up changing these black ones to brass eventually. But yeah, there she is. It's kind of close to the shape of the old hood. One thing the old hood does is it tapers as it goes back toward the steering wheel. I did not do that because I wanted the room for the gas tank and the battery so they don't get any closer than they are. So it's a little fatter up here than the original hood, and I made sure that that was not interfering with this lever here. So this lever is still free. It's another thing I also had to do with the muffler here, is to make sure that the lever still works. I don't use a lot of attachments on the 600 so much. This is more of a puller, and what I really want my tractors to do is, at some point, I want them to be pushers also. So I've got these are actually threaded in. This is a bolt going all the way into this cast iron front end piece, and that's threaded and tapped. So these bolts are going all the way through, but I want a bumper eventually where I can actually push things to instead of just having to pull them. And also that will give me a place where I can, let's say I want to mount a front accessory onto the front mounts here on the front end. This will give me an ability to put an electric actuator or something so that I can have some kind of attachment raising up and down electronically here. This will give me a strong, firm base to lift from. So that's the eventual goal, is I want to be able to quick attach an electric lift, which I have several of. I want to be able to put an electronic actuator on there and make that front end a pusher. And I do have that. When I got my 1050, I noticed that when I bought it, somebody had already tapped this front end, and that's what gave me the idea that I can do that on my other tractors, like my 750 and this one. So now all of my tractors have that front end tapped to where I can put accessories on the front of it. So that's the long-term goal, is to be able to lift things from that. Right now the lower light is attached to what I would call the bumper. Yes, that's about it. Alright, so I just want to get a quick video. I'm still using it. Not at work with it much anymore. I don't have any of that kind of work right now. So this is a video just showing the 600. There's nothing else new really that I can show that I've done. Let me see what else. Yeah, there's nothing really new. Oh, I do know. So I had the wheel weights on there. These wheel weights aren't really made for that specific Jacobsen wheels. They basically have two holes here, and I basically just had like some strings going through them to hold them to the wheel, and they worked fine. Those are, I think, 15-pound weights. But what happened about a week ago, I was driving it down the road and the back wheel started to wobble, and came back to here, and I found out that these 3 lug nuts were actually bolts that I put on there because I didn't have lug nuts on there. They're bolts with nuts, and those started to come loose while I was at the end of the street. And as you know, you can't really push these things around to get anywhere. So I had to make do with some pliers and a screwdriver or something, where I was able to get the wheel weights off and get those bolts pushed back in just to basically creep back home. Then I came home, and off of one of my donor tractors I went and got the lug nuts. So these are 7/16 fine thread, American fine thread bolts, and they are the actual lug nuts, and the difference is that they're tapered on the inside to hold this wheel. The bolts that I had were not tapered on the wheel sides, so they were prone to vibrating and moving their way out. So that is one thing I had to do, is I had to harvest some lug nuts from my other tractors just to get those back on there and to make sure that those wheels stay securely. I did repaint the wheels since the last video, I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing I did. Yep, that's about it. Got the oil drain. I did mention the oil seal on the back, the rear oil seal on the back of the crankshaft. I put that in maybe 2 months ago and showed a video on that. That has been working really well. I have no oil leaks, no drips, no runs, no errors. And that's about it. Oh yeah, one more thing. I took a grease gun to everything. So you can see this grease, what I call a grease nipple, on the front wheel. I got one down here on the PTO. Not sure if you can see that or not, but there are a couple grease fittings on here. Another one here at the right rear wheel. So I made sure everything was greased up nicely. Same on the trailer, I've got grease fittings. And I went through all my tractors and gave them a good grease lube. And I can tell that things are running a little bit smoother. And even if you can't, you know, it's good to do that regular maintenance anyway. For these old machines, you give it a new grease job, it's gonna just keep on lasting longer and longer and longer. So yeah, I've got it all greased up. I did have a bunch of oil up in the engine area because of that broken oil seal. I power washed that out for the most part and got rid of most of that, wiped it down. So I don't have a bunch of oil in there anymore. But what I like to do, if I'm like, if I'm actually going to go put this into the 4th of July parade, I will take brand new motor oil that's not used, and I'll actually rub the motor oil on here to shine this thing up. And it shines really nicely. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just a couple drops of oil, but it just brightens everything up and gives it a little bit of sheen and water protection. So yeah, I'll use just straight up motor oil, get a cloth wet with oil, and then just wipe everything down. That'll clean it up really nicely. Actually, I'll wash it first, let it dry out, and then that morning we have to set up and stage the parade. While we're sitting there waiting for the parade to start, I'll actually take an oil rag to wipe everything down and make it nice and shiny. Excuse me, just getting over being a little sick. So yeah, that's it. On the 600, I think I showed a lot more than I was really expecting. I wanted to just kind of show that and remembered that I had done some other things. So hopefully people will see this and enjoy it at least. I mean, I'm really happy with it. I can't say that it will stay like this forever or that I won't change it. I might do something different if it comes to my head, and I do definitely have the wood, but you can see this is not going anywhere. It is supported by this upright in this middle section. I did find, I knew that I had it, but I had it somewhere, but I did find there is a shield that normally goes across here to divert the heat from the engine out away this way. I did find that, and I'm going to see if I can put that back in there or not. I think the battery is going to cause that to not work, but the heat coming from the engine was another reason I really wanted this to be an open design, because the heat can just come straight up out of there. I do remember driving the 750 in the winter. There's so much heat gathering up underneath the hood up there, and you could actually run a heater off of that to warm yourself, but I know there's a lot of heat that comes backwards this way. The engine is blowing the heat back in this way in this compartment, so having this open design will let the heat all disperse pretty freely instead of getting caught up underneath the hood. Yep, so that's about it. All right, I'm gonna sign out, and until I have something actually interesting, I'll probably not doing too many videos on it again. But she's running great, she's looking great, and we will see whether or not she's in a parade. That's not really my choice. It's definitely going to be available if the disc golf group decides to use it, but I'm not sure that they will. We'll see. This year is a 10-year anniversary for the disc golf course, so they may do a little something special, or they might just drive the John Deere Gator again, which is fine. The Gator is a little bit more work for them to take it to the parade. For this, I can just drive it down to their house and it's ready. For the Gator, they'd have to go pick it up and then bring it home, and back and forth, a bunch of logistics. So there's a possibility that this will be used on the parade, and the crowd loves it. They want to know what year, make, model, blah, 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 which is fine. So let me see, what else do I got going on? I am finished with that video. I really wanted to not do anything else, but let me see. Oh, I know where it's at. The 1050's in the back. I just put some tread tires on it, some turf tires on it. I'm using that a little bit. Don't have much big work to do, and for me that's a puller. I'm getting my dead tree removed in the front of my house, and I was able to move this trailer backwards with it, which was a pretty incredible feat. I was really surprised, scared, but surprised I was able to manipulate this trailer. It's probably a ton. I think it's a 16, or so, I think it's a 12 by 6.5 trailer, single axle, 1 ton capacity. It's got a pretty good load on it. So I was able to move this around with the 1050, which is nice. Haven't used it much other than that. Let's go show the 750. The 750, I've been using it to cut my grass, and it's not really good right now, but and the tree cutting truck with the boom on the top got stuck there, so don't mind that, but it cuts grass really well. So that's my lawnmower right now. There she is. She's got the lawn mowing deck on the bottom. PTO engagement works fine. I took all of the stickers off of everything except for the 1050, and I painted this again, and that's only for longevity. I mean, it definitely looks a little bit better, but the paint on the hood, I don't think I ever changed anything about the hood of the 750. And you can get the sticker sets, I believe, so if I ever wanted to sticker it again, I can. But yeah, right now this is just a lawnmower. I am going to put the lights back in function. Yep, so that's about it. This thing's running great. I've got the wheel weights on the back. and the 6-inch wide PTO, sorry, the 6-inch wide AG tires. Right now I've got this additional hitch on the back that allows me to put a 2-inch trailer hitch on anything, and that unbolts and comes off of there. I wouldn't say really easily, but easily enough. It is very, very strong. So that's what the 750 is up to. Not much new. That one's really comfortable with this newer seat on it with the back on it, because those steel seats are not very comfortable, but they work. All right, we're gonna go back to the 600 just for the last moment and show. So when I was working with it a couple months ago, I had maybe it was a month ago, I had a tree fall on it, damaged the steering wheel. I've got that bent back as much as I can, but it's still a little crooked. I had to replace the seat. I need to paint that the right color. The seat was pretty bent up and I couldn't get it bent back, so I just put another one on. And like I said, whenever I take something off of this, I keep it as the original. It can always go back to original if it never needs to be, and I decide to do that. I probably won't. In fact, I plan on having this my whole life, so I probably won't ever need to rebuild it back to what it was originally. And I'm really, really happy in the long run. It was a whole lot of work, a whole lot of extra work to put this Kohler K141 on there, but it's so worth it in just going up the hills. And you can't really see the angle here of this driveway. I'd say, if I had to guess, this driveway maybe 25-degree incline, but my hill here in the front here it's kind of level there. This is a 45-degree angle up the front hill, and the way that I test my Bolens tractors to make sure that everything's running good, I have one test. That's all I have, is one test. If I can drive my tractor up this hill without slipping and tipping over and everything, that's an A+, because I'll never do anything like that anywhere else with the tractor. And this is as extreme as I need to get. It's 45 degrees, it goes up, I sit on it, it doesn't tip over backwards, forward, right or left. It pulls up there on idle, and that is, I've been doing that since I had the Huskies, and actually some of my pulling tractors. If I can make it up this hill here at this corner, it means I've got all the traction, all the power, the carburetor's good, etc. So that's my hill test that I do right there. And the 600 actually does it without me on it, but it needs wheel weights on it to get some traction in the back. Yep, all right, I'm gonna sign out. Thanks for watching.